بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وسلم تسليما. Adi ibn Hatim radhiyallahu anhu, very well known Sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, though not so well known amongst us, but among the Sahaba and among the Arabs he was very well known. The reason he was very well known among the Arabs was because of his father, Hatim Ta'i. He was from the tribe of Banu Ta'i, which is in the north part of the Arabian Peninsula. And if you look in your maps, you'll see it. Hatim Ta'i was a legend in the Arabs. He was a legend. He was known for his generosity, for his good character, for his humility, for his open-heartedness. It is said about him that outside of his house there will always be a pot so big that you could fit a camel in there. And there will always be food cooked in there, and anytime anybody passed there in that region, travelers, locals, they would eat at his place 24/7. And so he became very well known for his generosity and his compassion. He was very, very, very soft-hearted. There's a lot of stories about him. Once somebody asked his mother, Adi ibn Hatim's mother, Hatim Ta'i's wife, Nayar, her name was Nayar, that, tell me something about your husband. She said, what can I tell you? Everything about him was ajib. Everything about him was just so amazing. He had a very fascinating personality, extremely humble man, and extremely generous. She said one day, these were in the days when there was famine in the Arab. There was nothing to eat for days and days and days. And the Arabs depended a lot on the rain because they lived in the desert. So there was no rain for so many weeks, so many months. The children were crying. She said, me and my husband, we decided that we're going to put the kids to sleep, just lull them to sleep. So I took one child and just lulled her to sleep slowly, and then my husband took the other, and then after all the kids were asleep, he came to me and he patted me to put me to sleep because he knew I was very hungry as well. Then he asked me, Nayar, are you awake? And she said, I acted as if I was sleeping. Shortly thereafter, somebody came knocking at the door. He opened the door and the woman, and he said, Hatim, my family is suffering. I have little kids and they have nothing to eat, and I can't see their suffering any longer. He said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. She said, I got up. I was supposed to be sleeping. I got up and I went to my husband. I said, Ma sanat, what are you doing? Your own children are suffering from hunger and you're going to take care of other people's children? He said, don't worry, I'm going to take care of their children. I will take care of your children too. And he left the house. He left the house and he went hunting. And he came back after many hours. Finally, slaughtered whatever he had hunted. And he called that woman, fed the children. And while he was feeding the children, he was watching them as they were playing and happy after eating their full. And then he came, he gave to our family, and then he called everybody from the city. Everyone eat. But she said, one thing I noticed, he didn't take a bite out of the food. He himself didn't take a single bite from the food. Everyone ate. The whole city ate. That woman ate. Her children ate. She herself ate. Her family ate. But he didn't touch the food. And he was suffering from hunger as well. There's a story mentioned about him that once, after he passed away, a group of travelers from another tribe came in his area and they were very hungry. So they came to his grave, and one of them, his name was Abul Khaybari. He hit his grave and he said, Hatim, aren't you going to feed us something? Just out of joking. They said that night they went to sleep. Next morning, that person, Abul Khaybari, he's saying to everyone, get up, let's go to the mounts. Mounts were tied nearby. He said, let's go to the mounts. He said, why? What happened? He said, Hatim came to me in my dream and he said, I've prepared food for you by your mounts. He said, oh really? He said, that's what he said, so let's go. So he went to the mount and he saw that his own mount, the hamstring had been cut and it was about to die. So they slaughtered it. And they said, yeah, see, this Hatim Ta'i had prepared your food for you by slaughtering your own camel. See how generous he is? Even after his death, he's feeding us and taking care of our needs. So they ate to their full, and as they left, somebody came to them from the tribe of Hatim Ta'i saying that give this camel to a man by the name of Abu al-Khaybari. Hatim Ta'i came to me in my dream and he said to me that give this camel to Abu al-Khaybari. I used his camel to feed all the travelers in the caravan. This was Hatim Ta'i. Very well known. There's a lot of stories about him. Once Adi ibn Hatim asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, Ya Rasulullah, you know my father. You knew his generosity. You know he's a legend in Arabia. Where is he now? Where is he now? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, did he accept Islam? He said, no. He said, فَإِنَّ أَبَاكَ كَانَ يُحِبُّ أَن يُذْكَرَ فَذُكِرَ. Your father loved for his name to be mentioned. His name was mentioned. In other words, he did it for the people. So it was done. His name became known. Now he will get nothing in the akhirah. He'll get nothing in the akhirah. But there's a point that needs to be made here. The first question that Rasulullah ﷺ asked him was what? His first question was he a Muslim? The reason Rasulullah ﷺ asked that question was because if he was a Muslim, and that does not mean that he accepted my prophethood, because we heard yesterday that Zayd ibn Amr ibn Nufail, he accepted Islam without the prophethood of Rasulullah ﷺ. Islam here means just accepting the tawheed of Allah, accepting the oneness of Allah. So the question is, did he accept the oneness of Allah? The reason he asked this question was, if he accepted the oneness of Allah, then all his actions would have been accepted because he would have done it only for that one Allah. His intention would be only for doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But since he was a mushrik, a pagan, that means he wasn't doing it for him, he was doing it for his own name. There's a question that's often raised now, that sometimes we see people amongst the disbelievers who are very open-hearted and very compassionate and always helping humanity. And sometimes the question comes in our heart, what's going to be their condition? We find them to be better than many Muslims in their character sometimes. But the answer has been given in this hadith. That all this is being done really for themselves. It's not for Allah. If they're Muslim, then at least there's some intention. They may still be doing it for others, but at least there's that intention of doing it for Allah. Because every Muslim, no matter how weak his iman is, when he does a good deed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a part of that intention. In fact, even if his iman is weak, a Muslim will still know that he's going to get reward for this in the akhirah, so he does it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just that knowledge that he knows that he's going to get rewarded for it in the akhirah, he does it for Allah. Subconsciously, though his intention may be something else. So this belief in Allah is essential for all of our good deeds to be accepted. To the extent that if you planted a tree, there's a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you planted a tree for the sake of, for example, just having a shade, or for the beauty of it, that you have a beautiful, nice, big tree in the front of your house. But birds came, built their nest there. People came, took shade underneath the tree. Anybody who benefited from that tree in any way, you get the reward for that. You didn't make the intention, you get the reward for it. So even those good deeds you didn't even make the intention for as a good deed, you get even rewarded for that by the barakah and the blessings of your iman in Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is Hatim Ta'i. And because of his father, Adi ibn Hatim was also very, very well known. And he was also very generous. Very, very generous. His whole tribe, the tribe of Banu Ta'i, was Christian. Hatim Ta'i was Christian, Adi ibn Hatim was Christian. So they were people of the book. And as we've read and have heard from before, that a lot of information was already known. There was already prophecies and things mentioned in the books about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from before. Zayd ibn Amr ibn Nufail, he went to so many different people of the book and he knew exactly what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked like. Adi ibn Hatim was from the people of the book. So for sure he must have known something about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. Although through his biography, I did not see anything that he knew about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam beforehand that there's a Prophet of Allah coming. Because there was both types. There were those who knew the books well, and there were those who were just the regular Christians. So he was not a priest or a monk or anything. So he may have not known the details of the prophecies that had been mentioned about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A little overview of some of the things about Adi ibn Hatim. In the battle between Ali ibn Abi Talib and Muawiyah radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu, in the battle of Siffin, and before that in the battle of the camel, the battle of Jamal, between Aisha Siddiqa, al-Mu'mineen, and Ali ibn Abi Talib, Adi ibn Hatim was always on the side of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Always. We saw many of our shining stars before. Some of them completely withdrew from this war, the civil war that was taking place between two great Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Imran ibn Hussein was one of them. Adi ibn Hatim, he was on the side of Ali ibn Abi Talib radhiyallahu anhu, and he fought on the side throughout in the battle of Jamal and also in the battle of Siffin. In the battle of Jamal, he lost one of his eyes in the battle of Jamal. Also, this is something we should all know. When Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu became the Khalifa, how would they address him? How would the Sahaba and the people address him? When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was alive, we know that the Sahaba would address him, Ya Rasulullah. But how did they address Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu? They would address him by calling him Ya Khalifata Rasulillah. This is how he was called. Ya Khalifata Rasulillah. But Umar ibn Khattab radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu was not called Khalifata Rasulillah. The first person to give him the name that was to be known, that was to be the title of not only Amir al-Mu'mineen Umar ibn Khattab, but also Uthman ibn Affan and Ali ibn Abi Talib, the next three Khalifas, was Amir al-Mu'mineen, and this name, this title was given by Adi ibn Hatim radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He was the first person to call Umar ibn Khattab Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, and this title stuck with him and with all the Khulafa that came after. In fact, all the way up to the Uthmani Empire, they would say Amir al-Mu'mineen. They always say Amir al-Mu'mineen. In the Abbasi Khalifa, in the Umawi Khalifa, the Khalifa would always be called Amir al-Mu'mineen. This was started by Adi ibn Hatim radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He was known to be a very powerful speaker. He was the chief of his tribe. He was a very, very powerful speaker. And also, he was very, what they call hadirul jawab, very quick-witted, responded very quickly. He always had an answer for anything you asked him. When in the time of in the Khilafah of Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, when people started turning away from Islam in the Arabian Peninsula, his tribe was also thinking about turning away from Islam. They were thinking about renouncing Islam and going back to their old ways. So it was Adi ibn Hatim who stood up and warned them. And he said to them, "Innakum in aqamtum ala deen al-Islam asabtum ad-dunya wal-akhirah." Remember, if you stay on the deen of Islam, you are staying on the truth in this dunya and on the truth in the akhirah. When raja'tum anhu, and if you turn away from it, khasartum ad-dunya wal-akhirah, you have destroyed your dunya and you have destroyed your akhirah. وَاسْتَغْنَى اللَّهُ عَنْكُمْ, and Allah has no need for you. Don't think that you're staying Muslim is your favor on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has no need for you. Turn away, it makes no difference. Stay on Islam makes no difference to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is for your good. To be Muslim is for your good. وَعَلِمْتُمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى قَدْ قَبَضَ نَبِيَّكُمْ مُحَمَّدٍ صلى الله عليه وسلم, and you know that Allah has taken your prophet, the last prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this person who has now replaced him is his Khalifa. And if you turn against him, you are turning against the Nabi of Allah. Because of his speech, his tribe remained steadfast on Islam, when most of the Arabian Peninsula had turned against him and had pitted themselves against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's Khalifa Abu Bakr Siddiq, and the Sahaba radhiyallahu alayhim ajma'in. The story of how he accepted Islam is very, very interesting. Very interesting. He accepted Islam in the 7th year of Hijrah. Before that, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sending out expeditions, sariyat, all over the Arabian Peninsula, to places far away from Medina Munawwara, to go and call people towards Islam. So these expeditions were going everywhere, south, north, east, west, and they also they were coming to his tribe as well. And he knew that very soon Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be dispatching an expedition to come to my tribe as well. He said, before they came, I decided I don't want anything to do with Islam. As the cases of many converts, their beginning usually is that they hate Islam, like Umar ibn Khattab radhiyallahu anhu. And even if you read at the stories about many of the converts in our time, people who accept Islam, the beginning of their life is full of hatred of Islam. And they're the type of person that if you had seen them in the state of disbelief, that you would never imagine that this person would accept Islam. He's working his hardest to spread rumors against the Muslimin, and he wants to hurt the Muslims. And later you hear he's accepted Islam, and you can't imagine that person, he accepted Islam. There's a lot of people like that, even now. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes the heart. Like I said, this haqq of Islam, the righteousness of Islam, has a very powerful magnetic attraction. And those people who have a clear heart, a pure heart, like Adi ibn Hatim did, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings them into the folds of Islam. He said, I hated Islam, and I wanted nothing to do with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, I had already told my servant, buy and purchase the best camels for a long journey. And when you hear that the expedition of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is nearing our region, inform me. He said, one day, my servant came and he said, whatever you have thought about doing after Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's expedition arrives, you better do it now, because he has sent a sariyah to the tribe of Banu Ta'i, and they're about very close to our region now. You want to get out right away. He said that I was in such a hurry that I only got my wife and my children ready, and I left my whole tribe, including my sister Safana, Her name is Safana. I left her behind and I left my whole tribe behind. And I decided I'm going to go all the way to Sham, where all the Christians and people of my faith live. The Byzantium were all Christians, and he was also a Christian. She says, I'm going to go. So he arrived in Sham. In the meantime, the expedition arrived in his region and took captive all the people. But all the men had already left. There was only women and children. And one of those women was the daughter of Hatim, the sister of Adi ibn Hatim, Safana binti Hatim, radhiyallahu ta'ala anha. She was brought captive into Medina Munawwara. In those times, when women were made captives, in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they would put them in a special place inside the masjid that was covered. It was called a hadira. They would place them there. It would be a covering so that none of the Sahaba or none of the men would be able to see them, and they wouldn't see any of the men. So that was where she was kept. She came and was held captive in this place. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was walking outside the masjid after salah, and she stood up. And she said, Ya Rasulullah, halak al-walid, ghab al-wafid, famnun alayya, mannallahu alayk. My father is destroyed, he's died. And my guardian, he's left. Have some favor on me, be good to me, Allah will be good to you. And she introduced herself. I am the daughter of the one who is the legend of Arabia. The one who always entertained guests in his house, who always fed and took care of the poor, the one who always helped all the travelers. For him, it didn't matter which tribe it was. Any person came to his door, asked for help, he would give his life to help that person out. I am the daughter of Hatim Ta'i. She would say this, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would look at her and he would pass. Second day, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed the salah, passed by, again she came up, stood and said the same thing again. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked, stayed quiet and passed. Third day, she said it again. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam stayed quiet and he passed. On the fourth day, he was passing through and she decided it's no point saying anything because he's not listening. Ali ibn Abi Talib radhiyallahu anhu was with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Usually when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would come into the masjid or leave the masjid, he would be surrounded by the Sahaba. More often when he was leaving the masjid and leaving from the same entrance that the Sahaba left from. If he was not going to his house and he was leaving from the entrance that the Sahaba came and entered and exited from the masjid from, he would always be surrounded by the Sahaba. So he was leaving from the entrance, main entrance of the masjid, which was at the north side, facing Jabal Uhud. And she wanted to stand up, but she said, forget it. And Ali ibn Abi Talib saw her. And he saw her condition, he said, he pointed towards her, that stand up. He gestured towards her, stand up. So she stood up and she asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam the question again. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَإِنِّي قَدْ فَعَلْتُ, I have done what you have told me to do. In other words, I have favored you. وَلَا تَعَجِلِي بِخُرُوجٍ, but don't leave right away. حَتَّى تَجِدِي مِنْ قَوْمِكِ مَنْ يَكُونَ لَكِ ثِقَةً, until you have some person from your tribe who can take you to your destination wherever you want to go. It's not safe for you to go all alone in the desert. When you find out that somebody from your tribe has come who you trust can take you to your destination, then tell me and I will send you off with them. There's another narration mentioned in which it says that she came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam after the fourth time and she said what she said, and she also said, Ya Rasulullah, remember I am the daughter of Hatim Ta'i. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to her, Inni qad fa'altu, I have done what you have told me to do, and I do not only free you, but I also free all the tribe that has been captive with you. There were 900 people altogether. Freed all of them. Freed all of them, 900 people. And he said, I'm only doing this because of your father. Innahu kana yuhibbu makarim al-akhlaq. He was a man who loved good character. So a Sahabi was standing there. He said, Ya Rasulullah, is good character that beloved to Allah? He said to the Sahabi that don't you know that a Muslim will only enter into Jannah bi husni khulaq, by his good character. There's another famous hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Inni bu'ithtu li'utammima makarim al-akhlaq. I have been sent to perfect the good character. Those who follow the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam completely, not externally only, that you're praying salah to fulfill the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You're stepping outside the masjid with your left foot to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Entering the masjid with your right foot to follow the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These are the external sunnahs. When we say makarim al-akhlaq, we're referring to those sunnahs that are related to the heart. Humility, having humility, having compassion for humanity, having love for Allah, love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to complete. Because once your heart is pure and clear, you are filled with compassion for humanity, love for Allah, love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then that will all emanate in your actions. It will manifest in your actions. Then your external action, your external deeds will automatically be perfect. This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam meant. You cannot enter into Jannah without husn khulaq. You have any arrogance inside of your heart, you can't enter into Jannah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, famous hadith in Sahih Bukhari, you have even a grain of arrogance inside of your heart, you cannot enter into Jannah. Which means that it's a responsibility of every single human being, not just Muslim, non-Muslim, to remove arrogance from his heart. And the first and worst form of arrogance is disbelief in Allah. Kufr. This is the worst form of arrogance. A disbeliever first has to remove that, and then he begins to remove all other different forms and veils these different forms of arrogance that are inside the heart. Disbelief is the worst form of arrogance. To reject Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, إِنَّمَا أُوتِيتُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ, whatever I have is because of my knowledge, because of my greatness, because of me. It's me. Ana. It's very dangerous. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam he freed Safana binti Hatim and 900 people from the tribe of Banu Ta'i, only on the basis of this quality that Hatim Ta'i had, yuhibbu makarim al-akhlaq. He loved good character. When a person from her tribe came who she trusted, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent her off. He gave her a nice mount, gave her a lot of money, so that she has enough money to get herself to her destination. And her tribe was with her. They arrived in Sham, and when she came to Adi ibn Hatim, he narrates himself that my sister was so angry with me that I left with my family and deserted the whole tribe, including my own sister. So she arrived, she didn't say salam, no greeting, she said qati', the one who severed ties, zalim. You zalim, you qati', you're saying all these things. He says, forgive me. Forgive me, it's my fault. I admit it, it's my fault. See, he was humble, he had humility in him. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted him. After a few days, when she was feeling a little better, he asked her, he said, Safana, tell me something about Muhammad. She said, I think you should go to him as soon as possible. I don't know if he's a prophet or not. She had not accepted Islam at this time. She said, I don't know if he's a prophet or not. Wallahi, antal haqabi sariyan. But I say that you reach him as soon as possible. فَإِن يَكُنِ الرَّجُلُ نَبِيًّا فَالسَّبْقُ إِلَيْهِ أَفْضَلُ. If he is a Nabi of Allah, then you must go to him. That's the greatest virtue. وَإِن يَكُنْ مَلِكًا. And if he is a king, then remember, he will never humiliate you. وَأَنْتَ أَنْتَ وَأَبُوكَ أَبُوكَ. Because of who you are and because of who your father is. You are known. Your father was a legend. And you are also very well known. He will never ever humiliate you. He's not one to humiliate. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had already informed the Sahaba by revelation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala soon is going to put the hand of Adi ibn Hatim in my hand. In other words, he's going to accept Islam and he's going to take pledge on my hand. Adi ibn Hatim was deliberating. Should I go? Should I not go? Should I go? Should I not go? What should I do? He couldn't figure it out. Finally, he decided that the best thing for me is that I should go. Because it seems like he's going to eventually take over the whole Arabian Peninsula and then I have no way to go and no place to go, so I might as well just see. If I don't accept, at least he'll give me peace and protection and I can live in the Arabian Peninsula. He said, when I arrived in Medina Munawwara, the Sahaba recognized me right away. They knew him, he was well known. Grabbed his hand, took him to the masjid. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood up, he said, oh, Adi ibn Hatim is here, Adi ibn Hatim is here. Al-far min Allah, al-far min Allahi wa Rasuli, the one who ran away from Allah and His Rasul. He's saying this in a joking way to Adi ibn Hatim. Al-far min Allahi wa Rasuli, the one who ran away from Allah and His Rasul. There's an ayah that we read just a few days ago. فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. Run towards Allah. Adi ibn Hatim was running away from Allah. So Adi ibn Hatim came and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't sit him in the masjid with him. He took him with him to his house. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to show Adi ibn Hatim that he's not a king. He's a prophet of Allah. While they're on their way, Adi ibn Hatim is narrating that an old woman and a child came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And while I was standing next to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was taking me to his house. She had some questions, some things, concerns that she had. And she said, you have to come with me, Ya Rasulullah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Adi ibn Hatim, he said that you wait for a few minutes, I'll be back. She took his hand and she went with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he came back a while later. And he said, I realized he's not a king. This is not the ways of kings. Kings are not like this. That a regular person just comes up to them and they go off with them to attend to their concerns and take care of their matters. This is not the way of a king. He said, then I came inside the house with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had, the house was bare empty. Is this the house of a king? It was empty. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had nothing for me to sit on, just a pillow that he used for sleeping, which was filled with the fiber of the palm tree. And he took it and he gave it to me and he said, sit on this. This was the pillow that he put his head on. He had nothing for Adi ibn Hatim to sit on. He gave him his pillow. And Adi ibn Hatim felt so embarrassed that he's giving me his pillow because he doesn't have anything else. He says, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Ijlis alayh, sit on this. He said, no, you sit on this, Ya Rasulullah, I can't sit on this. I can't sit on this. By this time, even though he didn't accept Rasulullah as a prophet, he was already saying, Ya Rasulullah. His heart had already accepted. He was wearing a necklace made out of gold. And it had a picture or a relief of the Virgin Mary on it. The Christians say the Virgin Mary. Not Maryam alayhi salatu salam, the Virgin Mary. Because obviously those pictures and those reliefs that we see in the statues that we see, that's not Maryam alayhi salatu salam. That's the Virgin Mary. Just lies about who Maryam alayhi salatu salam truly was. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked at it, made out of gold, which is haram in Islam. And he said, اتَّخَذُوا أَحْبَارَهُمْ وَرُهْبَانَهُمْ أَرْبَابًا مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ. An ayah of Quran Hakim. It's an ayah about the people of the book. That they have taken their rabbis and their priests as gods besides Allah. A Christian may come to you tomorrow and present this ayah that you say, your Quran says that we take our priests and our monks and our rabbis as gods beside Allah. We only believe in one God. That's the exact same question Adi ibn Hatim said. Same question he asked. He says that your book says, اتَّخَذُوا أَحْبَارًا وَرُهْبَانًا مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ اتَّخَذُوا أَحْبَارًا وَرُهْبَانًا أَرْبَابًا مِّن دُونِ اللَّهِ. But, Ya Rasulullah, we don't believe that. We don't believe that our priests and our monks are gods beside Allah. We believe in one God. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, أَلَيْسَ كَانُوا إِذَا أَحَلُّوا لَهُمْ شَيْئًا إِسْتَحَلُّوا وَإِذَا حَرَّمُوا عَلَيْهِمْ شَيْئًا حَرَّمُوا. Is it not true that when the priests made something that was haram upon the people, halal upon them? Was it not true that the priests make those things that are haram upon the people, the Christians, and they make it halal, and those things that are halal upon the people, they make it haram? He said, yes. What Rasulullah ﷺ was indicating was that even in your religion, having statues and reliefs is not permissible. But your priests have made it permissible for you, so you've made them gods besides Allah. You're listening to them, you're not listening to Allah. Your own book is saying that this is not permissible. Then Rasulullah ﷺ started a discussion with Adi ibn Hatim. He said to Adi, he said, I know more about your deen than you do. He said, you know more about my deen than I do. He said, yes, I know more about your deen than you do. He said, how is that? He says, that is it not true that in your religion, you are not allowed to eat the sheep camel? People from your specific group of Christianity, his sect of Christianity, were not allowed to eat the sheep camel. He said, yes. He said, did you not eat it on your way here? He said, I knew. There's a prophet of Allah. He knows more about my religion than me. Then he says to him, Ya Adi, what's stopping you from accepting Islam? What's stopping you from accepting that Allah is Akbar? You know Allah is Akbar. You are a Christian. You believe in one God. What is stopping you from accepting Allah is Akbar? لَعَلَّكَ يَا عَدِي بْنِ حَاتِمٍ إِنَّمَا يَمْنَعَكَ مِنَ الدَّخُولِ فِي هَذَا الدِّينِ مَا تَرَى مِنْ حَاجَتِهِمْ. Maybe the thing that is stopping you from accepting Islam is the fact that you see that the Byzantium has a lot of wealth. They are a superpower. They have a lot of money. وَنَحْنُ فِي عَضَاضَةٍ. And you see my Sahaba, you see my companions, you see me, and you see our meager way of living. We have nothing to eat. We have no money. And you're thinking that this is proof that Christianity is on haqq and you are on batil. Remember, Adi, فَوَاللَّهِ لَيُوشِكَنَّ الْمَالُ يَفِيضُ فِيهِمْ. A time will come that wealth will pour in like rain upon this ummah, fihim, in them, referring to the Sahaba, who you're looking down upon. Because Adi ibn Hatim had seen the Sahaba, how they had stones tied to their stomach, they had no clothes to wear, and he just came from the Byzantium, people full of wealth. nicest clothes, silk, gold. He says, I know. But just remember, a time will come when there will be so much wealth pouring down on these people, the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, hatta la yujada man ya'khuduhu. You will not find a person to take any money. So much wealth that you will not find person to give zakat to, person to give sadaqah to. US is one of the most prosperous nations in the world today, but you can still find a person to give sadaqah to. You can still find a person to give zakat to. But a time will come in Islam, you will look for a person to give zakat to, you will look for a person to give sadaqah to, you cannot find anybody. This was during the Khilafah of Umar ibn Khattab, Uthman ibn Affan, Ali ibn Abi Talib. So much wealth pouring in from the conquest, they couldn't find a person to give zakat to. Can you imagine? More than we see in our times. More wealth that we see in our times. And he says, maybe, Ya Adi, maybe there's other things that are stopping you also from accepting Islam. You see the Byzantium, you just came from there. You see that there's so many of them. Millions and millions of Christians. And Muslims, only a couple of thousand. Or few in number, they're great in number. لَعَلَّهُ إِنَّمَا يَمْنَعُكَ مَا تَرَى مِنْ كَثْرَةِ عَدُوِّهِمْ وَقِلَّةِ عَدَدِهِمْ. Maybe you're looking at, maybe it's stopping you from accepting Islam, the fact that you're looking at that the enemies of these Sahaba, the enemies of these people are very, very large in number, big in number, and they themselves very few in number. Maybe this is stopping you from accepting Islam too. Let me let you know, فَوَاللَّهِ لَيُوشِكَنَّ يُسْمَعُ بِالْمَرْأَةِ تَخْرُجُ مِنَ الْقَادِسِ عَلَى بَعِيرٍ حَتَّى تَزُورَ هَذَا الْبَيْتِ لَا تَخَافُ. A time will come that a woman from Qadisiyah, Iraq, will travel alone on her own. Remember, in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the time of Jahiliyyah, the Arabian Peninsula was very, very dangerous place to travel. A very dangerous place to travel because there were always raids going on, and you were never safe if you entered the region of another tribe that they will attack you and kill you. In fact, yesterday we were talking about Zayd ibn Amr ibn Nufail. That's exactly how he died. He entered the region of the tribe of Banu Lakham and Banu Judham, and they attacked him and killed him. But there will be a time that will come that Qadisiyah, Iraq, a woman will travel from there to perform her Hajj. That means the whole of Iraq will be Islam, Muslim. And she'll travel all the way to Makkah Mukarramah to perform her Hajj. And there will not be a single person with her. She'll be all alone. And she'll have nothing to fear. In other words, a day will come when all of Iraq will be Muslim. And all of the Arabian Peninsula will come under the umbrella of Islam. The whole Arabian Peninsula will be Muslim. And the great superpower that you look up to, the Persian Empire, gone. All taken over by the Muslims. Qadisiyah, there's a Muslim woman traveling all the way from there to come for Hajj to Makkah Mukarramah. And he says, maybe another thing that's stopping you from accepting Islam, that you see all the kingdom and the power and the throne is in the hands of the Byzantine and the Persian Empire. وَلَعَلَّكَ إِنَّمَا يَمْنَعُكَ مِنَ الدُّخُولِ فِيهِ أَنَّ الْمُلْكَ وَالسُّلْطَانَ فِي غَيْرِهِمْ. You see that power, kingdom, government is in the hands of others besides them. It's in the hands of the Byzantium and it's in the hands of the Persian Empire. لَيُوشِكُنَّ أَن يُسْمَعَ بِالْقُصُورِ الْبِيضِ مِنْ أَرْضِ بَابِلِ قَدْ فُتِحَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ. Remember, a time will come, very close, very near. You will hear that the White Palace the White Palace in which Kisra ibn Hurmuz is sitting right now, that will be conquered by these people who you're looking at right now around me. Adi radhiyallahu ta'ala, who is the narrator of this hadith, he said, I became Muslim after this. And he said, the first two things have already happened. I've seen with my own eyes that a woman from Qadisiyah traveling for Hajj, coming all the way to Makkah Mukarramah. And I see that Islam has swept like wildfire throughout the Arabian Peninsula and into the lands of the Persian and the Byzantine Empire. People are accepting Islam in droves. He said, just the third thing is left now. And then he himself was a part of the battalion, a part of the battalion and the contingent that went out to go and take over Kisra ibn Hurmuz and the rest of the Persian Empire. So the third thing was fulfilled as well. This is the story of Adi ibn Hatim, radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and how he accepted Islam. It's important to note how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought him into Islam. A couple of things to note. He gave him special respect when he entered the masjid. He freed his sister and the whole tribe to soften his heart. And when a woman came, an old woman with a child, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't say, wait, Adi ibn Hatim is with me, a great man, and I want him to accept Islam first and then we'll deal with this. This is a secondary matter. No. He dealt with her right away because she was a Muslim and he was not yet Muslim. And this was a lesson that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had already learned from the ayahs that had been revealed about an incident that happened. The ayahs revealed from Surah Abbas. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was calling some people from the Quraysh to Islam. Abdullah ibn Maktoum was Muslim, was blind, came, didn't see that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting with a group of Quraysh, and he kept on calling Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, obviously when you're talking to somebody and somebody keeps on interrupting, you get a little unnerved. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayah, Abasa wa tawalla, an ja'ahu al-a'ma. You frowned that a blind man came to you. This is something for us to learn from. We always have this eagerness, and this is good, an eagerness to call people towards the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But don't break the rules of the Sharia to call people towards the deen of Allah. Be who you are, a good Muslim. And that is enough to call people towards Islam. See, just the fact that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam attended to that woman had such a great and powerful effect on Adi ibn Hatim, that if he had not done that, he may have not become Muslim, because in his mind, he was still doubtful of whether he's a king or he's a prophet. Now, if he had not attended, he may have thought, okay, he's a king, and been deprived of Iman. Who knows what thing we do, what good deed we do that calls people towards the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't know. I remember hearing one incident, and I don't remember where I heard it and when I heard it, about a brother. He said he went to Japan and he was sitting in a train there and he was cutting his nails, and he was cutting it according to the recommended way of doing it, the mustahab way of cutting the nails. It's not sunnah way, but mustahab way that's mentioned by the scholars. He said there was a person sitting in front of him, a Japanese man, and he was watching this very carefully, noting the specific order in which he was cutting his nails. And he asked him, why are you doing this? Why are you doing it this specific way? And he said that our blessed Prophet ﷺ liked to start everything with the right and do all good things with the right hand. So that's why we also do it this way. Everything we do, the good things that we do, the pure things, we always try to do it with the right. So that Japanese man was so affected by that he accepted Islam right there. There's one person here in Buffalo. He used to work in a restaurant. So it was after hours, just about the restaurant was emptying out. So he was eating something from the restaurant. He had finished his work, cleaned up. He was eating something and there's one or two customers left. So a morsel of food fell on the ground and he picked it up. He blew on it and he ate it. And he said one of the customers was watching, a woman. And she came up to him and she said, I saw that. So why did you do that? So he explained to her that this was the sunnah of our Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he always taught us never to waste food. And he said, I didn't see any food, any dirt or filth embedded inside of it, so I followed the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I blew in it and I ate it. And she accepted Islam just because of that. We don't know what will touch the heart of a believer, of a person, and he becomes a believer. Remember, every single sunnah, every single act of deen is haqq. And haqq has a very powerful attraction towards the human nature. Very powerful attraction. Yes, those people whose natures have been morphed and changed, there's nothing you can do about such people. We're talking about people who still have some human nature left, or still intact, and there's a lot of them. Just one or two things that I want to mention before we finish, inshallah, two things specifically, so we don't have much time. But it was Adi ibn Hatim radhiyallahu narrates a hadith that whenever I used to come in the gathering of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there were so many people that there was no place to sit, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would always make special place for me by his side, and then he would say, Adi, come here, sit next to me. Always. Whether there was a lot of people, the gathering was full, or whether there was few people, he would always say, Adi, come next to me and sit next to me. How much Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved Adi ibn Hatim radhiyallahu anhu. Also, it's mentioned one kind of humorous episode from the life of Adi ibn Hatim. During the Khilafah of Amir al-Mu'mineen Umar ibn Khattab, he once came from his land, from his region, into Medina Munawwara. And he sat down in the gathering, and obviously he was very well known, very famous. So Umar ibn Khattab radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he was calling out the people by name. But he didn't call out Adi ibn Hatim's name. So Adi ibn Hatim thought, has Amir al-Mu'mineen forgotten me? Or is he ignoring me? Or he doesn't like me anymore? So he said, I came up to him and I said to him, Ama ta'arifuni ya Amir al-Mu'mineen? Do you not know who I am? You don't recognize me? You recognize me? I said, of course I recognize you. Bala, aslamta idh kafaru. You accepted Islam when people were turning away from Islam. Waqbalta idh adbaru. And you came forward when people were turning back. Wafayta idh ghadaru. And you fulfilled your promise when people were breaking it. Referring to the time of Abu Bakr Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu, when people were renouncing Islam. At that time, you held on to Islam, and your tribe, because of you, held on to Islam. وَعَرَفْتَ إِذْ أَنْكَرُوا. And you recognized Islam when they disbelieved and rejected it. So Adi radiyallahu ta'ala said, فَلَا بَالِي. Then okay, then alhamdulillah, that means you have recognized me. So this is the life of Adi ibn Hatim radiyallahu ta'ala. Subhanallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us like this Sahaba. Every Sahaba, so great, so amazing. The life of each, every one of them is just a sirat mustaqim for us. Is like a star for us. And we only have two Sahaba ridwanullahi majma'in left. But one thing we should remember, the whole purpose behind these sessions that we've been holding after Asr about the Sahaba every single day, for all these days throughout the month of Ramadan, is to learn about their qualities and to imbue the love of the Sahaba inside of our hearts. I really feel that if those brothers and sisters who have been listening to me, whether here physically or online, if any love has increased in their heart for the Sahaba, then we are successful. We are successful in fulfilling the objective for which we are holding these sessions, to increase our love for the Sahaba. In reality, it's not really love for the Sahaba, this is really love for Allah. Because love for the Sahaba would only be because of your love for Allah. They were people of Allah, so you would love them only because you love Allah. So your love for the Sahaba is a sign of your love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more your love for the Sahaba increases, the more your love for Allah and your love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is increasing. It's like a chain. All the links are together. And any one of this link breaks, then the whole chain and all the pearls that are inside it, all will fall down. So these Sahaba are all part of this chain, a link. Every single one of them is a link in this chain of Islam. Starting with Allah, then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and then the rest of the Sahaba ridwanullahi ajma'in. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Jazakumullah khairan.